Ever tried to get into meditation but found it just, well, kind of fades away after a while?
Hmm.
You're definitely not alone if you have. Today, we're diving deep into why building a lasting meditation practice can feel like such an uphill battle.
And more importantly, we're looking at how to actually make it stick using strategies backed by science.
Exactly. Welcome. We're on a mission today to really understand how to weave meditation into the fabric of your daily life, not just as something you try to do, but as a sustainable habit.
That's right. We'll be digging into the science of habit formation itself, drawing from research, insights from medication experts, basically giving you practical tools.
Yeah, we've got this really great resource. It's a paper called Setting Up a Meditation Practice. And it's useful because it breaks down the psychology behind habits, but also pinpoints the unique challenges that meditation throws up.
And it gives concrete steps. That's the key.
Yes, so our goal here is to give you a clear pathway, really.
hmm To distill all this information, the research, the expert advice, into things you can actually do.
Right, so you can bypass that feeling of being overwhelmed and just integrate meditation effectively. Make it feel less like a chore.
And more like a natural, maybe even rewarding part of your day.
Okay, so let's get right into it then, the foundation. What's the basic science behind how we form habits? It seems simple, but clearly there's more going on.
Absolutely. So, at its core, a habit is essentially an automatic behavior. It gets triggered by specific cues, usually in a consistent setting or routine.
Like muscle memory for the brain.
Kind of, yeah. Think of it as your brain creating shortcuts. You encounter a familiar situation, that's the cue, and boom, your mind or body just performs the action without much conscious thought. You know, like brushing your teeth first thing.
Right, yeah, you don't really think about that, you just do it. It's like a well-worn groove. So how do we carve out a new groove for something like meditation?
Well, it generally happens in 3 stages. First is initiation. That's where you choose the behavior meditation and decide on a consistent context, like, say, right after your morning coffee. Second stage is learning. This is where repetition comes in. Doing the behavior in that same context again and again strengthens the link between the cue, the coffee, and the action meditating. That's associative learning at work.
Got it. Building that connection.
Exactly. And finally, you reach stability. That's when the behavior becomes largely automatic. It requires minimal conscious effort or willpower.
So it's definitely more involved than just trying it a few times and, hoping for the best.
Oh, absolutely. The paper really emphasizes several key principles. And number one is repetition in a consistent context.
Right. Same time, same place.
Ideally, yes. Meditating around the same time and the same spot each day helps forge those strong neural pathways. It makes the behavior more automatic so you're less reliant on fickle things like motivation or willpower.
Which we all know can disappear pretty quickly.
That makes total sense. It's like setting up a reliable trigger that your brain learns, okay, this means it's time to meditate. What else is important?
Another vital principle is starting with small, manageable changes. Okay, so don't aim for an hour straight away.
Definitely not. In fact, the research suggests simpler actions, shorter sessions, not only feel less daunting,
Yeah.
but they also build your sense of, I can do this, your self-efficacy. And that actually seems to speed up the whole habit formation process. It's about building momentum with small wins.
I like that. It takes away that pressure, that feeling of having to become, a Zen master overnight.
Exactly.
Now, these contextual cues, we mentioned the coffee, the time of day, how powerful are they really?
Incredibly potent. A specific trigger can automatically bring the intention to meditate to mind. It could be a time, like first thing upon waking, or, as we said, linking it or stacking it onto an existing habit.
So the old habit acts like a launch pad for the new one.
Precisely. The familiar cue acts almost like an automatic prompt, initiating the urge or the intention without you having to consciously decide every single time.
Okay, now, the paper mentions this figure, around 66 days on average, for a habit to form. That sounds like, well, quite a while.
It can seem like a long time,
Yeah.
but it's really important to see that as just an average.
Yeah.
The actual time can vary hugely. It depends on the person, how complex the new behavior is. The key takeaway isn't the exact number of days. It's understanding that consistent repetition over time is what leads to that automaticity.
Right, focus on the consistency, not the calendar date. That's helpful. So what if life gets in the way? I miss a day or maybe two. Does that completely wreck all my progress?
Generally, no. The research suggests occasional missed sessions usually don't derail the whole process.
Yeah.
The crucial thing is to just get back to it as soon as you can. It's about the overall pattern of consistency, not achieving some kind of perfect, unbroken streak.
That's a relief. Seriously, take some pressure off.
What about reward? The paper talks about perceived reward. How does that fit in? That's fundamental. Behaviors that we find intrinsically rewarding or, just pleasant in some way are much more likely to become habits.
But meditation isn't always pleasant. Sometimes it's just noticing how busy your mind is.
True, it might not be a thrill ride,
Mm.
but if you do start to notice benefits, maybe a sense of calm afterwards, maybe slightly better focus during the day, maybe feeling less reactive, that positive feedback reinforces the behavior.
Okay, so the reward might be subtle, but it's still there.
Exactly. Makes you more inclined to repeat it. This ties into the brain's dopamine system, which is really key in locking in habits.
Right. Okay, so just to recap the basics. Consistency and context. Start small, use cues, understand it takes time, don't beat yourself up over missed days, and find some kind of reward or benefit.
That's a great summary of the foundation.
But as the paper points out, building a meditation habit, well, it seems to have its own unique set of challenges, doesn't it? It's not quite like, say, deciding to floss every night.
That's a really important distinction to make.
Yeah.
One huge hurdle is what you call mental resistance.
The monkey mind.
Precisely. Many beginners find their minds are just incredibly busy, or they feel really uncomfortable with the stillness. And that can lead to frustration, feeling like I'm doing this wrong, or
Yeah.
I'm failing at meditating.
Oh, I've definitely been there. You sit down expecting peace and quiet, and suddenly your brain is making to-do lists and replaying conversations.
Exactly that. Then there's the simple, practical challenge of time constraints, or at least the perception of time constraints.
Yeah.
In our busy lives, finding even 5 or 10 minutes can feel difficult, especially when the benefits aren't always immediate or, tangible right away.
It's easier to prioritize the urgent stuff, the things with obvious outcomes. What else gets in the way?
Unrealistic expectations, that's a big one.
Expecting instant enlightenment.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Or just expecting profound, calm, or deep insights from day one. When progress feels more gradual or subtle, it's easy to get discouraged.
Yeah, I can see that.
And related to that is a lack of motivation, or maybe unclear motivation. If you don't have a strong personal reason why you want to meditate, it's really easy to lose momentum, especially if the whole practice feels a bit abstract or disconnected from your daily goals.
That makes total sense. If you don't know why you're sitting there, it's hard to keep doing it when it gets tough.
Exactly. And finally, let's not forget environmental distractions. Noise, interruptions from family or pets, an uncomfortable chair. All these things can really disrupt your practice and make consistency harder.
Okay, so it sounds like we need to take those general habit principles and really tailor them, make them specific to overcoming these meditation hurdles. How do we actually do that? The paper uses that helpful framework. Make it obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying.
Yes, it's a really practical structure. Let's break it down, starting with make it obvious. How do we make the cue to meditate really clear, really hard to miss?
Well, the paper strongly suggests setting a specific time and place, like you said, maybe first thing in the morning or right before bed, and having a dedicated quiet spot.
That links directly back to creating those stable contextual cues we talked about.
Yeah.
It even suggests things like meditating right after you brush your teeth, anchoring it firmly to something you already do automatically.
Right, that's the habit stacking idea again.
Exactly. You link the new behavior meditation to an existing habit. So the mental script becomes, after I existing habit, like making coffee, I will meditate for X minutes.
It's like piggybacking on the old habit's momentum.
Precisely. It uses those existing neural pathways, making it much more likely you'll actually remember and follow through.
That sounds really smart. What about just setting an alarm?
Simple, but effective. Setting reminders is another great way to make it obvious. Use your phone alarm, put it in your calendar, use a meditation app that sends prompts, whatever works to give you that clear signal. Okay, it's time.
Okay, so we've made the cue obvious. Now, how do we make it attractive? Because, let's be honest, the idea of just sitting still with your own thoughts, it doesn't always sound super appealing, does it?
No, it doesn't always. This is where consciously crafting a pleasant environment can really help. Think about that meditation space you've designated.
Make it nice.
Yeah. Is it comfortable? Could you add things that feel calming to you? Maybe a nice cushion, a pleasant scent, some soft lighting, maybe some gentle music if that helps you. The paper notes that a space that feels visually appealing and tranquil can genuinely boost your motivation.
That makes sense. If your little meditation corner feels like a sanctuary, you're naturally going to want to spend time there.
Exactly. And then there's the technique itself. Choosing a style of meditation that you actually find enjoyable, or at least interesting, is crucial.
So you don't have to force yourself to do, say, silent breath counting if you hate it.
Absolutely not. There's a huge variety out there. Guided meditations are often great for beginners because they give you structure.
Takes the guesswork out?
Right. Or maybe a simple breath awareness practice feels good. Maybe a body scan. The key is to experiment. Find a style that resonates with you, that feels at least somewhat engaging. Remember, things we find intrinsically rewarding are easier to turn into habits.
So trying different guided apps or techniques until one clicks is perfectly okay.
Highly encouraged. And linking back to motivation again, the paper really underscores clarifying your personal why.
Knowing your reason.
Yes. What specifically do you hope to gain? Less stress, better focus, improved sleep? Understanding your core motivation makes the practice inherently more attractive because you see how it connects to your own goals and values.
Okay, I'm seeing how these pieces fit together. Make it obvious, make it attractive. Next is make it easy. Because if something feels like a huge effort, we're just less likely to do it, aren't we?
Absolutely. This is critical. And the number one tip here is start incredibly small.
Like how small?
The paper strongly advises beginning with really short sessions, maybe just 1 minute, maybe 5 minutes, whatever feels almost too easy.
Really, just 1 minute?
Yes. It drastically lowers that initial barrier. It helps you build confidence, that sense of accomplishment. And the research is clear. Simpler actions become habits much faster. Committing to 1 or 5 minutes feels way less daunting than 30 when you're starting out.
That's fantastic advice. I think the idea of needing to meditate for a long time really puts people off. What else makes it easier?
Minimizing friction. Any kind of setup, if you have to spend ages getting your space ready or finding your special cushion.
Creates resistance.
Exactly. Try to keep your space ready to go. Or even better, practice in situations that require zero setup. Meditate sitting up in bed before you get out. Meditate for a couple of minutes while waiting for the kettle to boil.
That removes so many excuses. And those guided meditations we mentioned, they fit here too, right? Making it easier.
Definitely. Especially through apps like Headspace or Buddhify or Insight Timer, they provide structure, step-by-step guidance.
Right.
It reduces the mental effort involved.
Right. You don't have to figure out what to do. You just follow along.
Exactly. It lowers the cognitive load, which is really helpful, especially at the beginning.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. So, start super small, remove friction, use tools like guided meditations. That covers making it easy. Now, the final piece. Make it satisfying. How do we create that reward loop that locks the habit in?
Well, one surprisingly effective way is simply tracking your progress.
Like ticking a box.
Yeah. Keep a simple journal. Use an app that logs your sessions. Put a star on your calendar. Seeing that visual proof of your consistency taps into the brain's reward system. That growing streak can be really motivating.
I can see that. It's like giving yourself a little pat on the back each time. What else?
The paper suggests pairing meditation with a small, immediate reward.
Yeah.
Something you genuinely enjoy right after you finish.
Like
enjoying a lovely cup of tea, listening to a favorite song, spending 5 minutes reading something purely for pleasure.
oh, cool.
It helps your brain form a positive association. After I meditate, something nice happens.
Linking the effort to an immediate positive feeling.
Exactly. And another powerful way to make it satisfying is community. Consider joining a meditation group, either in person or online.
Accountability. Support.
Both. Sharing the journey, connecting with others, it provides accountability, social reinforcement. It can make the whole process feel more enjoyable and less solitary.
Those are really concrete, useful tips. The paper also mentions a few extra strategies for, when things don't go perfectly.
Yes, definitely. Flexibility and self-compassion are key.
So, if you miss a day,
Don't spiral into guilt or criticism. It happens. Just acknowledge it and recommit to practicing tomorrow. Remember, those occasional lapses are normal. They don't erase your progress as long as you get back on track.
that's important to hear.
And it also talks about managing distractions, maybe using earplugs or headphones if noise is an issue. And crucially, practicing self-compassion during meditation.
When the mind wanders off for the 100th time.
Exactly. Recognizing that's just what minds do. And gently, kindly redirecting your focus back without judgment. That non-judgmental attitude is, in itself, part of the practice.
That self-compassion piece feels really vital. It's so easy to get discouraged otherwise.
It really is. It's about learning and exploration, not passing some kind of test.
Yeah.
Now, we've talked a lot about the how, but the paper also briefly touches on the scientific backing, the why it works, which is pretty compelling stuff.
Yeah, it mentions some solid research showing the benefits go beyond just feeling a bit calmer, right? Affecting things like focus, even the brain itself.
Absolutely. There's a meta-analysis cited that looked at many studies and found significant reductions in stress, anxiety, and depression from meditation programs. That's quite powerful evidence.
Wow.
And other research shows that even brief daily practices can boost attention, memory, mood regulation, even in beginners.
So you don't need to practice for years to see any benefit.
Apparently not.
Yeah.
And perhaps most fascinating is the neuroimaging research. Studies using brain scans have actually shown structural changes in brain areas related to attention and self-regulation in people who meditate regularly. Things like increased gray matter density.
That's incredible. So it's actually changing the brain. It really underscores that this isn't just, a nice idea. There's real science here.
Precisely. And the habit formation research itself backs up the strategies we discussed. That study showing consistent context leads to automaticity.
Yeah.
And the findings on app-based meditation, where time consistency predicted sticking with it and feeling better, it all points to the power of building that routine.
It's interesting, too, that the paper just touches on that discussion around the commercialization of meditation, especially with apps.
Yes, it's a relevant point in today's world. Apps have definitely made meditation incredibly accessible, which is largely a good thing. But there are valid questions about whether this focus on accessibility and maybe gamification sometimes prioritizes ease of use over the depth or maybe the original cultural context of these ancient practices. It's just something to be aware of as you navigate the options.
Okay, so pulling this all together, it sounds like building a lasting meditation habit isn't about brute force or expecting miracles. It's more about understanding how habits work, being smart about setting up cues and rewards, making it super easy to start, making it attractive enough to continue, and treating yourself with kindness along the way.
That sums it up perfectly. Start small. Aim for consistency with time and place where you can. Actively find ways to make it enjoyable for you. Track your progress. Be patient.
So for you listening right now, maybe just take a moment. Think about one tiny, genuinely enjoyable tweak you could make to your day that would make starting meditation just a little bit easier. What's the absolute smallest first step you could realistically take today?
Maybe it's just downloading an app and exploring it for 5 minutes. Maybe it's identifying that quiet corner. Maybe it's just deciding, okay, tomorrow, 1 minute after my coffee.
Yeah. And as you think about that first step, just know that this deep dive is really just the beginning of our exploration into meditation.
That's right. In future discussions, we'll be getting into specific techniques, digging deeper into the wide range of benefits, and looking at other fascinating facets of this practice.
So definitely stay tuned for more deep dives into the world of meditation.